Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. We here at UUFNN are growing not just in numbers, but in our faith that by being and working together, we can bring about justice and build a compassionate community. It's a joy to see each of you this Sunday as we connect for a time of reflection and introspection. We welcome all to be a part of us, regardless of racial identity, ethnic background, age, economic circumstances, educational achievement, judicial history, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. UUFNN is about compassion and support, not judgment. I'm JJ Lee, and I serve as your worship associate this morning. We at UUFNN love having new people join us for worship, and if that's you, feel free to contact the office or our website for more information. You can also click on the link in the chat box to fill out the newcomer form and sign up for our newsletter that will keep you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. Since we're all meeting on Zoom, please note that you can update your name on screen, which helps everyone to know who you are. Note that you will remain muted during the service, but you can use the chat box for comments, especially during the prayer and meditation sessions. As a courtesy, please refrain from posting announcements while folks are presenting. Following the service, I invite you to join us for coffee time, where we break into small groups to visit virtually face-to-face. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Let's join together in lighting our chalices with a reading from Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned that we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart of stirrings of compassion, blowing the wind, rising the sea, moving the land. Living life in the spirit of justice.
Hear these words from Jeanette Encinias called Silver. How many years of beauty do I have left, she asks me. How many more do you want? Here is 34, here is 50. When you are 80 years old and your beauty rises in ways your cells cannot even imagine now, and your wild bones grow luminous and ripe, having carried the weight of a passionate life. When your hair is aflame with winter, and you have decades of learning and leaving and loving sewn into the corners of your eyes, and your children come home and find their own history in your face. When you know what it feels like to fail ferociously and have gained the capacity to rise and rise and rise again. When you can make your tea on a quiet and ridiculously lonely afternoon and still have a song in your heart, queen owl wings beating beneath the cotton of your sweater. Because your beauty began there beneath the sweater and the skin, remember? This is when I will take you into my arms and coo, you brave and glorious thing. You've come so far. I see you. Your beauty is breathtaking. This is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. It is through your generosity and dedication that we here at UUFNN are self-sufficient. By each of us stepping forward and offering what we can, we provide a support for all that we do for each other and the wider community. Please share what bounty you can today by texting 73256. Type UUFNN in the message box and hit send. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, 89511, or if you want to simplify the process, you can sign up for automatic giving. Contact Carol at the office for the authorization form. The August Share the Plate recipient is the Hart Foundation. In 2018, Ryan Hart, the owner of a home care agency in Reno, received a call from a social worker asking him to do a consultation for a woman being discharged on hospice with only a few days to live. She was in a tremendous amount of pain, and also even worse, she was terrified to die alone. Ryan's heart broke, so he provided her with free caregiving for the 2 to 3 days she lived. Unfortunately, this scenario is too common in our community, and it's the reason the Hart Foundation was formed. This nonprofit organization relies on contributions to provide in-home caregiver services to seniors and veterans who cannot afford it. Often families are desperate to find in-home care, and government programs fall short. Seniors and veterans often fall through the cracks. Our generous donations will provide a highly trained, loving, and compassionate caregiver to be by someone's side in their greatest time of need. Funding can help caregivers provide not only health care, but help with daily activities and transportation. Please help our vulnerable neighbors in the time of greatest need. Now, let the offering begin. Please join me as we bless these offerings. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves and these offerings.
Linda Hanson chose our first reading, Silver, to reflect her current spiritual journey. I have chosen Courage, a reading from Cornell West, to reflect my current spiritual journey. It takes courage to interrogate yourself. It takes courage to look in the mirror and see past your reflection to who you really are when your mask is off, when you're not performing the same old routines and social roles. It takes courage to ask, how did I become so well adjusted to injustice? It takes courage to cut against the grain and become nonconformist. It takes courage to wake up and stay awake instead of engaging in a complacent slumber. It takes courage to shatter conformity and cowardice. It is critical to understand your history and then be true to oneself in such a way that one's connection to the suffering of others is an integral part of understanding yourself.
Hello, everyone. Most of you are probably familiar with this song, but for those of you who aren't, I will be singing the first part of the lines. For instance, somebody's hurting my sibling and it's gone on. And then you would sing along with Far Too Long. And it continues like that through the song. I think you'll pick up the pattern. Somebody's hurting my sibling and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my sibling and it's gone on far too long. and we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's poisoning our waters, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's poisoning our waters, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's ignoring the homeless, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I said it's gone on far too long. Somebody ignoring the homeless, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Linda Hanson was scheduled to speak today, but she needs to keep her energy focused on getting strong enough to walk again. But she has a message she wants me to share with you. A smiling summer greeting to each of you. As you might already know, I've been in hospitals since mid-May. So many doctors and nurses, CNAs, and case managers attempting diligently to repair the large infection in my right leg. All this made me contemplate again that I am already 84, that I've already lived a long and satisfying life, even though I think I'm only 60. I'd like to share with you 2 observations I've made through all of this. First, never forget anything that went wrong with you earlier in your life, for it's likely to reappear. And secondly, know that as you age, your body will most assuredly fall apart. So I ask you to tuck these 2 observations, maybe calling them observations on the nature of life. Tuck these in your own head, please, and you'll be much more ready to face future challenges with strength. As I thought about filling in for Linda today, I wondered what was on her mind and how her voice could be reflected today. I was able to visit with Linda 9 days ago, and we had a delightful time getting to know each other and sharing stories of our spiritual journeys. And that's what I want to share with you today, my perceptions of what happened when Linda Hanson and Lib Hutchison spoke with each other about their spiritual journeys. Linda talked of a childhood in Ohio where she ended up on Sunday mornings in a mainline Protestant church and listened to the adults sing "Onward Christian Soldiers, Marching On to War." And then she went to Sunday school and sat in the teacher's lap while the teacher sang "Jesus Loves the Little Children." That wasn't all working out well for Linda, and she talked about somewhere along the line developing her own personal spiritual journey that involved a search for truth and the ability to listen to other people's truths. Linda found Unitarian Universalism when she was a student at Cornell University. The university didn't serve Sunday night dinners, and the smart churches down the hill from the university served dinner to college students who wanted to attend. And Linda found that she enjoyed eating dinner with the Ithaca Unitarians. Linda describes her spiritual journey as being animated by pagan, earth-centered spirituality, cycles of nature, human interconnectedness with nature, inner spirit journeys, human life stages, and celebration of pagan holidays. Linda would like to see more of this at UFNN. She talked about the need for greater balance of these inner journeys with social activism. Linda's had a lot of time recently to contemplate her own inner journey, and in her 9th decade, her spiritual journey is focused on mortality, and personal meaning for this life stage. When she is stronger, she would be excited to begin a circle of wise women in our congregation, 80 and older. And she sees the poem Silver as a great place to start. I grew up in rural and small town Tennessee, where Christian religiosity was in the water and the air. I caught some of it for sure, but it was tempered by having a father who was the irreverent son of a Presbyterian minister. I also grew up with racial apartheid. I came of age during the Black Civil Rights Movement, but you wouldn't know it from what I heard in my home, in my school, or in my church. Religiosity gave way to a spiritual awakening in the summer of 1962. I was 17, still going to schools not yet racially integrated, 9 years after Brown versus the Board of Education decision. I was invited that summer to attend a youth leadership conference for Presbyterian youth living in the Southeast. It was to be held at a Presbyterian boarding school for African-American female high school students in rural Georgia. A few weeks before the conference convened, I received a questionnaire, and the first question on the questionnaire was, would you be willing to have a Negro roommate? When I arrived at the conference, I learned that I was the only conference attendee who had checked yes to that question. So during the downtimes, I found myself down a separate hallway from the other conference attendees, living with a Black roommate and 6 other Black young women who were students at the school working there this summer, but who had not been asked to attend the leadership conference. This was my first cross-racial experience. I did a lot of listening. I heard stories that were brand new to me, stories about name calling, rock throwing, not being able to go to the swimming pool, many other stories that shook my world. I came home from the conference with 3 questions, although they were not yet fully articulated. What else do I not know about how humans dehumanize other humans? What is my connection to the history and current systems of social injustice? And what should I do about it? These 3 questions became the themes of my lifelong spiritual journey and my efforts to compose a life. Along the way, I learned that there was much I didn't know, and I still wonder what I don't know yet. It's been like peeling an onion layer by layer. Do better when you know better. In Cast, Isabel Wilkerson says we are all responsible for our own ignorance. But of course, I often have had no idea what I didn't know yet. Sometimes I've had courage. Other times I've faltered. Often I've felt awkward and uncomfortable. And way too often, I've been too well adjusted to the injustices associated with business as usual. I thought of my work as a social worker and later teaching and writing for social work students as part of my spiritual quest. And many great moments of human connectedness in that work put my heart in a holy place. Some adult years I was connected to liberal Christian congregations who were committed to fighting for racial justice. And many years I had no religious affiliation. In our first 7 years in Washington, D.C., we had not made a connection with any religious group. In late 2007, a friend suggested we visit the All Souls Church Unitarian. At the first All Souls service we attended, when I looked at the 7 principles and I joined in singing Spirit of Life, I wondered, why had I not known that I was really a UU? Cornel West says, America denies its night side until it breaks right through. For me, and I think for many others, it broke right through with the George Floyd murder. I began thinking about something I had seen in my first social work job when I was assigned to work with patients and their families on a hospital burn trauma ward. One of the first things I learned was about burn debridement. Before new healthy tissue could develop, and to prevent more damage or infection, the burned tissue had to be removed in a process called debridement. It was a process that caused substantial pain on top of already severe pain. But healing could not take place without this prior process of removing the bad tissue. I keep thinking about this in the midst of the ongoing exposure of our society's deep racial wounds. It seems we keep thinking we can use a superficial fix that patches over deep cultural wounds, wounds that actually need some painful debridement. We've not been able to build up new, healthy interpersonal tissue without facing the depth of the wound and doing the painful work needed to establish the kind of ecosystem where healing can happen. Those of us who are white need to do some painful work if we are to prevent more damage and build healthy new ways of engaging issues of racial justice. Lately, I've been thinking that nothing short of a truth and reconciliation process can help us begin to heal. The United States was created by men who had deep divides over questions of slavery and policy for indigenous people, but they put those issues on hold in order to form a union. After the Civil War, appeasement was used to hold the union together. Now it feels to me that time is running out to start a healing process. And so two things I think a lot about these days are voting rights and teaching our children well. Teaching them about our history and also teaching them about their bodies. Sure, about their sexual bodies, but especially about their brains and their nervous systems. How fear, shame, and trauma burrow into the nervous system and drive behavior. How implicit biases develop and persist, but also how they can be tamed. So Linda Hanson and I have been on our different, very personal spiritual journeys. But as we talked, we found that there were many similarities in our spiritual journeys, and I'd like to just mention 4 of those briefly. First, both of us see a search for truth as being at the center of our spiritual journeys. Second, we found that singing Spirit of Life puts both our hearts in a holy place. And Linda and I were surprised to learn that we share an important person who influenced both our spiritual journeys. Lindy Ramsden. Some of you may know Lindy. Linda got to know Lindy in 1985 when Lindy came to minister to a struggling congregation in San Jose. Linda recalled how Lindy helped the congregation heal when they hit troubled waters. She talked fondly of Lindy singing and playing the guitar. I met Lindy 25 years later in 2010, when I had just retired from my teaching job and moved from Washington, D.C. to the Palm Springs area. I was pondering what meaning I could make of my life in the California desert, and that's how I got to know Lindy. In 2003, Lindy had founded the UU Legislative Ministry of California as a spiritually grounded justice ministry. She led California UUs to secure marriage equality, establish human right to water, pass healthcare reform, and advance immigrant rights. She and her staff developed water justice road trips. And when I participated in one of those trips, I found new meaning and purpose in environmental justice issues for the farm workers of the east end of the Coachella Valley. And I also have fond memories of Lindy singing and playing the guitar at our justice retreats. Finally, Linda and I found that we both struggled to feel a part of UUFNN when we first arrived. Linda described it as a struggle to get in, and this is something we need to keep in mind as we grow and bring in new members. I have reflected on some of what animates Linda Hanson and me in our life journeys. But what animates you? What gives meaning to your life? Most of us are on some very personal spiritual journey, but for some of us, that journey is a bigger piece or maybe just a more conscious piece of our life than for others. Some of us don't think of our journeys as particularly spiritual, and yet we've gone about composing our lives based on things we value. And at every stage of life, new questions and responses arise. As you use, we covenant to help each other give expression to our spiritual journeys. The Leadership Development Committee has been involved in a process of engaging members of the fellowship in contemplating what gives meaning and purpose to their lives and how their passions and talents can serve the UUF&N community while also animating their own spiritual journeys. We will be continuing these conversations and hope you will engage with us.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit, draw near.
Spirit of love, spirit of life, ground of our being, we gather in these moments today with our hearts full of many different emotions and feelings, and we bring such a complicated perspective to everything that we do these days. Thoughts of before and after COVID, uncertainty of what happens next. Everything just feels more complicated than it used to somehow. And so we give thanks for these moments to come together, to be connected, to experience the mystery and the wonder of connection, even in this way. And we give thanks that as human beings, we are hardwired for connection and we need each other in community. And so we give thanks that as our hearts beat and as we breathe, we are animated much in the same way as the trees and the birds who live upon this planet Earth. And we are held by our Mother, the Earth. And we give thanks for that we are held in love. We bring so many different joys and concerns, worries, celebrations. You're invited to take a few moments and share those with the gathered community today in our chat box. We take a moment and send out our love and our care to all of those who are impacted by the current fires and by smoke, and to all those who have been recently impacted by violence, to all of those experiencing loss, to all those who are grieving, and to all those who struggle with addiction every day. We gather all of our prayers, all of our meditations, all of our joys and concerns and celebrations, and we gather them all into the heart of love. Amen.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
And so we share with one another our gesture, one hand on the heart, the other hand extended forward as our way of saying, we are all in this together. No one is alone. I see you, I hear you. And in the way that is mystery, we are all one and connected together. I want to thank you so much for joining our service today. It's wonderful to be back with you and see all of your faces. And I know as we all do, we continue to look forward to a day when we can gather once again in the great room together in new and different ways. We hope to be making plans to see how that will unfold, discerning the current COVID situation, looking how we can best do that in the coming weeks and months. So, and I'll just speak fervently and honestly from my heart to yours. To do that, we're going to need lots of volunteers taking up lots of different tasks and responsibilities. And so I encourage you to look for information about that coming in the coming days and weeks as we look to put together all of the teams and the staffing and the folks that we'll need to help make that happen. That's the way that you can help make the inevitability, we hope, of coming back together sooner rather than later. Continue to watch your emails for everything that we have upcoming in the coming weeks and into the fall. And if you know of anyone who might benefit from this time of connection on Sundays, please do share our Zoom link with folks very liberally. And if you would like support in any way, or if you know of someone who needs support, please inform us of that so that we can extend our connections to those who need us. You're invited to stay on for informal conversations and coffee hour in our breakout groups at the close of our closing song. And gather now for our closing song, which is We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
The world is too beautiful to be praised by only one voice. May you have the courage to sing your part. The world is too broken to be healed by only one set of hands. May you have the courage to use your gifts. May you go in peace.